Ooh. I don't even know. Okay. Hi, guys. I'm coming on. All right. Let's see if this is even working. I don't know. We'll find out. Okay. So I just got word that, and I know Fotis died this afternoon, and I'm now doing this in the evening, and it's just hi, Lonnie. Just gonna say hi to people as they come in. What I was saying was I just found out that Fotis died this afternoon, and it's really interesting, you guys, because I was thinking he's not going to make it. Like remember I said yesterday he was in I forget what they call it, not bariatric, but it's bara something chamber, and I forget the name of it right now, but I knew that Fotis was going to die. And it's interesting because I really started to think, because he left a note that said he was innocent. Can you imagine? And you know what, I know this is going to sound terrible, but it's that feeling. And remember, I just tell you what I'm feeling and what's going on. You know, it's that feeling that I feel sorry for somebody like that. I really do. I mean, I know he was a brute and he was a murderer. I really feel that he was. And I was reading up on the divorce papers. When was it? Last night, I guess. And, one of the things she said was she was afraid. She said, I think he's going to try and hurt me. And she was afraid for her life. So it's really awful what he did. Yeah. Because the thing is that for him to say I'm innocent, okay, that's another thing. It's like, he isn't innocent. And, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to say this. No innocent person takes their life. Oh, Kate, the Fotis Dulos he had a suicide attempt 2 days ago and he died today. And he is the creepy creep who killed his wife. Oh, thank you, Edie. I think it's hyperbaric. Thank you. That was the name of the chamber. I know the coward died. I have to tell y'all, I'm really angry about it. It's kind of like, I guess that's how people feel when when somebody pleads out and you don't really get that chance to go through the whole thing, the whole trial or what have you. And I really feel the other thing that I'm really kind of angry about, and I talked about this, I'm really angry that his children, see, I think this is what I was to say. I think he put out that note and left it for the law enforcement to find, because I think he's telling his children in a way, I'm innocent, I didn't kill your mother, but I'm so distraught I'm killing myself, kind of thing. And nah, I feel like that buzzer, sorry, I don't buy it. And I really think that, it goes back to, it's funny how the children are kind of like nameless and faceless, right? Because we really didn't follow Jennifer, Dulos. We just didn't, Farber Dulos. We didn't follow her. We didn't know her. And so, I think we're going to get to know her. And that kind of is my intention a little bit, is that I think she recognized she was in a bad marriage and she wanted to, I think she wanted to admit, I think she wanted him energetically. That's what I'm feeling. She would want him to admit that he did it. But here's the thing. On the other hand, when we look at it that way, think about it as his children, right? Do his children, yeah, I know, Dolly. I know. Yeah, I feel that way too. Like Jessica just said, leaving that fake note. I think, though, on some level, I don't think he wanted his children to know he killed their mother. And I think that note, in a way, is his saving faith. We know it's all about him, right? We don't have to have that conversation, right? It's all about him. But I think on some level, he really recognized that the law enforcement was lowering the boom. And I'm just going to say this, okay? What is wrong with people that they think they can get away with this stuff? Like, I was looking at another case today and I'm like, really? You think that, oh, I don't know, she just went out for a drive. Like, really? It's just like, I don't know what makes people tick in that way. So I wanted to kind of come on and just say, that this case, and I think that what this case is about, if I can just kind of, for me, sum it up a little bit in a nutshell, is an abusive husband. We have talked in the past, and I was on that other case of the about Shanann and Bella and Cece's murder and Nico's murder. I was really on that for a long time, but we knew them, and I think that we didn't see any of what we're seeing with Doulos here. We didn't see like what he chased her around the house. He beat her, she got out and she said, what happened was, and I know I said this to you guys last night, but this is really prophetic, right? She wrote on, as I mentioned a little bit earlier in this broadcast, she wrote that she was afraid he was going to kill her, but what she did say in there, she was really afraid filing for divorce and getting that restraining order because she thought that basically she was signing her death sentence. And I feel like this is what happens with rageaholics. So I want to kind of cover the idea of a rageaholic, right? Because here's something I want to say about rageaholism. And I think some of you maybe have grown up with it. Rageaholics are very different in the sense that I think, yes, he was driven to something, but I think that at the end of the day, I think he just inside of himself, it just built and built and built. And this is something, by the way, that is a pattern with rageaholics. So, when people say, oh, they snapped, I kind of feel like, okay. How, I don't know if any of you are alcoholics or you've lived with alcoholics, but when an alcoholic goes on a binge and they do something bad and they recognize it, they come back remorseful, and there is that, I'm never going to drink again for 15 minutes until you recognize that there's still some booze there, or there's something that happens because you can't handle your feelings that you do that again. This is why we've got anger management. Okay. This is why people take those courses. This man was in a rage all the time. And I think that's, oh, Jessica, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Tony. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I've got to say, I think that, when we say, what has he got to rage about? He had everything. But what happens? And I really want to say this, the idea years ago with alcoholism, and of course, when Bill W. started, listen, he's just the name. We know that it was the Oxford group. It was, and by the way, for those of you that don't know, the Oxford group was a prayer group in New York, and it was something that Bill Wilson got involved in, but he felt that the idea of that, severe, like when I say severe, I mean heavy, almost very, very, very Christian thing. He wanted something that was more, I want to say accessible for everyone. So what we're talking about here, and I'm purposely, Carolyn, avoiding the word narcissist for a reason. And I'm going to share that with you right now. Part of the reason that I'm really staying away from that here is because not all alcoholics are narcissists, okay? And not all rageaholics are narcissists, and not all overeaters, compulsive overeaters, or compulsive gamblers. This is what happens is there is a spiritual hole in someone's soul. There's a spiritual hole. And they try to fill it. They fill it with alcohol sometimes. They fill it with rage because it's got to come out. They fill it with eating. I don't know about y'all, but I've had my share of overeating. Oh, I don't know, that time you sat there with half a box of donuts. Okay. So we've all had, if you're normal, and I want to say normal as it's really a cycle on the washing machine, but I'm talking about normal, just a normal person that everybody's drank too much at one time or another, drunk too much, or had too much alcohol, or they ate too much, or they got too angry about something, or people had blown their top. These are things that do happen, right? That doesn't define them forever. And sadly, alcoholism, rageaholism, gambling, overeating, all of the compulsions that I'm talking about it is a spiritual dis-ease. And the thing that happens with this is that people know that the only treatment is is a spiritual life. It's a finding yourself and, finding that spiritual path. And, I want to say, in fairness, I think that a true, strong spiritual path and alignment with God is something you share with other people as well. And that doesn't mean you recruit them to it. And I feel very strongly that people have their own rights and their own path. Okay. So some people will be Christians, some people are Jewish, some people are down the middle, and in AA, they always said, God can be good, orderly direction as well. So there is that idea of, we've got to really come to that idea of there is something going on internally. And when I look at someone like Fotis Dulos, and I'm going to be really upfront and say, I don't know. I think he was more of, and here I am, I'm not diagnosing, but I might have known somebody like this. I feel that there's more of a borderline personality when we look at rageaholics. And the reason I say this is because, borderlines have much more, there's a lot of that seductive kind of, who just said Oreos? Somebody just posted Oreos. I was like, what? Yeah, I might have binged on something like that. But one of the things I want to say about that is that when we have this idea, and I want to say it's a spiritual sickness. It really is a spiritual sickness of feeling that you are alone, you're left out, people joke about that word now, hangry, hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And we can look at, and I can tell by looking at this guy, and anybody who's had any kind of alcoholism, or been around any kind of a rageaholic, those four. Hungry, didn't Fotis look, I don't know about you, but he had a hunger, if that makes sense, that I felt was never going to get quenched. There was something in his eyes and something in his face that was just a constant. It's very interesting. Years ago, I was out with a friend of mine, very, very successful author, and she wrote Calling in the One. And I had just started to date this guy. And I was like, what do you think of him? And so she went with us to eat. And it was really interesting to watch him eat, because we both were watching him, and he was like this voracious eater, but he wasn't just eating. It wasn't like, oh, how are you? Talking. It was like this filling. It was like this need to just have there wasn't going to be enough food for this guy. And I feel that happens with alcoholics, that happens with, I'm going to go back to this. Fotis Dulos, he attempted suicide 2 days ago. He was in the hospital, and it was successful, apparently, because he did die today. So a couple things I want to say about that, and I want to talk about the organs too. One of the things I think that, and here's the thing that's really good. Somebody just said this, Tracy. Yeah, no, maybe it was Vivian. Yeah, Vivian. I'm angry at this second monster to get away. Here's what I want to say about that. And by the way, if you think of it, will you give a thumbs up if you are here, you like what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. If you think of giving the video a thumbs up, that helps the I don't know, algorithms, whatever. Anyway, so what did she just, I want to go back to what Vivian said. No. I want to go back to, give me one moment. I'm turning everything back. Okay. So what I want to go back to is, number one, his family said, oh, we're going to donate his organs. What? I don't want his heart. I'd rather die. Listen, guys, I'm in the business of vibes. Okay. I'm in the business of vibes. That's my business. I feel a vibe and I go, ooh, I don't want to do that. Right. When you have vibes going on, do you want that heart? Can you imagine? I would really like to find the people who are getting his organs and go to them and go, so do you have any nightmares? I really would like, I just would not want a murderer's organs. I realize it's kind of like, but there's going to have to be a lot of spiritual bathing in that. I'm telling you, let's just send prayer and light to the people who are going to be getting those organs. Okay. Let's just, I just feel like pray on them, send Reiki, just send them light, because, I'm just getting truth bombs. It's so sad. And I'm glad you said that, about the organs. But I want to go back to this voracious thing because I think it's very important to understand those 4 things that happen. You know, when we look at overeaters, they're and by the way, and I'm doing the as you know, I'm working on this book around World War II and on this. And I'm writing a new book, and one of the things that's really coming up around that is that I'm getting that, you know, all of the starvation that was going on in our country has got to have led to the incredible weight of our country, right? Because people, it skips generations. So the fact that maybe your grandmother or your great-grandmother didn't get enough food, it comes into our DNA. So if we know energetically, right? If we know energetically we get DNA, let's just put it scientifically. DNA means I might get the disease that my parents had, right? Or I might have certain things going on inside of me. Don't you think a heart has DNA? Don't you think lungs has some DNA? I mean, aren't you taking things into you that may in fact be connected in that way? Let's see. Yeah. You know what? Blue Flame said something, and I want to mention that because, you know, egoic people, egoic, is that what you said? I'm going to say egotistic because that's the word I know. But you know, egotistic people, don't they, you know, don't they have so much self-love? And I want to say to you, it's self-hate. They are trying to get love because, you see, here's the thing. If I don't have this and I want this, but I know that you have it, this is, if it is a deep enough, I want to say, if it's a deep enough void, if it's a deep enough pain, a deep enough hold, you will take this person's happiness. I mean, it's going on all over right now. You know, like people who commit crimes are basically taking someone else's chi. The idea is that if I can get it from you, I will feel better. And it really is a very interesting thing that's happening. Yeah, I think that one of the things is that, and I don't know, and I really want to say, with Fotis Doulos, I really feel, and this is something like a vibe I'm feeling, is that my sense of this is, and I'm just kind of feeling into this situation, my feeling is that he was a true rageaholic. And the problem is, okay, a rageaholic, like an alcoholic, I'm going to use that as an example, alcoholism, because it's much more, you know, I want to say knowledge, we know much more, it's more in our face. You know, an alcoholic will drink and it feels good and they'll drink more because more is better, right? More is better and I'll feel even better. The problem that happens is that the brain is it's not communicating correctly because there's not enough alcohol to lift that energy up. A rageaholic, there is not enough rage to get out of them to feel better. Because what happens is they can get all that rage out, right? You can drink so much, but when you wake up in the morning, you feel like, tell the cat to shut up, you know, like it's just the headache and you feel terrible. And a rageaholic has that hangover. They have that horrible feeling. And so what I want to say about Fotis Doulos is that I really kind of picked up on the fact that this guy is a rageaholic, and that to me has a very specific meaning. Now, here's the thing. You can put a lot of stuff on that, right? I mean, when I say this to you, there's a lot of things that go into this. First of all, I just need to tell y'all, everybody's on the spectrum. We all have a little touch of this. We have a touch of that. We have a touch of this. And I think the more depraved we are in terms of finding something to make us feel better, the issue is that, you see, we think we can take something from the outside and put it inside, okay, and feel better. And I think that it really is one of those things that it's taking someone else's pulse to see how we feel. It really is it's a complete disconnect from our own feelings. And I'm going to share with you, because I think some of you may relate to this. when I started a lot of my work and a lot of my journey, my mom had died. I was, I want to say 15, and I hated her. So don't feel sorry for me. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on there. She was a really bad alcoholic and very sick. And I remember, going through that my next few years, like I would go, yeah, I'm going skiing, right? And I would look to see if you had a reaction to that because I couldn't feel it. I would get somewhere and not be excited. I wouldn't care. It was almost like I was waiting for myself to show up. It was almost like I would go skiing with friends and we'd go skiing, but I wasn't really there. And I think that what happens is when we feel that disconnect, right? When we're not connected, it's kind of like what people say when people are molested. There is natural, a child, I'm not saying that's natural. I'm saying it's natural for a child to like pull apart from their body, right? So your soul and body really comes apart because your soul is watching your body and you're not attached to it. So one of the things I want to say about that is that it took me a lot of work, a lot of prayer and meditation. I thank God I had astrology and I had a lot of the spiritual things that I enjoyed. I fell into chakra work. I fell into card reading and just the idea of really having that connection with God. So that I was very lucky in that. And I also have found that the people I work with have similar mirrors to me. That's always the way it works, by the way. What you do in life is directly related to your wounding. So let's talk about wounding for a second. What did Fotis Dulos do? He built homes for the extremely wealthy. And guess what he was not? He was not that. He lived a lie. He lived an entire lie. He was not that person. He was not someone who was, extremely, look, I mean, I don't know about you, but like I've met a few blue bloods in my life. And the thing is that some of them are really down to earth and some of them are snooty patooty, but they all belong there on some level. They all have that real natural, just a real natural way of being. Some of it's entitlement now. It's a very different thing. But I think what I'm trying to say is Fotis didn't belong in that world. He did not belong in Jennifer's world. He borrowed, like I said to you last night, he borrowed $3 million from his mother-in-law. He still owed her the money. He was, his business was probably going belly up. And I say all this because you see, when someone is trying to keep up with who they're not, and they're putting that false self up. And for me, that's a lot of what children of alcoholics do. And by the way, grandchildren of alcoholics do. This is a very natural thing. So when I say this, when I say natural, these are the patterns. So when I said to you, when I talked to you even about, you guys can even see me. I don't, gosh. Yeah, no, I don't know if you can see me. Can you hear me? Shit. A little better. Okay, good. You see me. I'm having problems with my internet again. Let me just see if it jumped to 2. Damn it. It jumped to the lower. I'm going to go off. No, I don't want to do that. Stop. Sorry. Here we go. Let's see if I can